biohacking, performance, mastery, mindset, holistic health. This is a show about getting better every single day. I'm on a mission, guys, to help over 1 million people get healthy and lose weight. Why? Because when you lose weight and get healthy, you have higher self-esteem. You have more self-confidence. And that person goes out and crushes their goals and starts living the highest version of themselves, and then they have way more impact on the world. All right, what's up, guys? Happy Monday. Welcome to the show. Today, I want to go over some mindset principles because I think what keeps people going for the long run, what keeps people going and keeps them consistent and persistent over and over again, it's the mindset. It's that accountability, right? It's that showing up. And so today's topic that I want to bring up, and by the way, I'm live on multiple channels. I'm live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, so you can join me in all these amazing spots. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is a concept that's been coming up a lot in my life is this idea of courage. And, courage comes from the Latin root, actually. I think a lot of us, we think of courage, we think of bravery or, going into a burning building or of something like that. But courage is the Latin root. It means of the heart. It means from the heart, core. I think that's fascinating. Like, courage meaning in the old time, it was considered like speaking one's mind from the heart. And it's like, how often are we doing that? How often are we showing up from the heart? How often are we, I think most of the time we're showing up in our heads, right? We're not present. And that is probably one of the biggest problems and why we lose courage is because we jump up in our head and we start telling ourselves stories of like why we can't do something, right? Why it's going to be impossible. We look inward instead of looking outward. And so that's a really important concept, I think, coming from the heart, right? The Latin root, from the heart. So courage, guys, it's an attribute, really, when you think about it, it's an attribute of the soul that gives us strength, power, endurance to overcome and overcome these obstacles, right? These weaknesses, these hardships, these failures, these losses, these disappointments. Any kind of crisis or circumstances that we've all been in, and the problem is when these things come up, they tend to impede our progress, right? They tend to interfere even just with our own well-being and how we feel. I know, a lot of people and a lot of the people that I coach and even wellness clients, they can be sick. They can become sick from the mental and emotional aspect that's coming over them, right? So these mental and emotional blockages, I see it all the time. And when you can help actually remove people from with these, I did a great interview with Dr. Bradley Nelson, the founder of the Emotion Code. We talk about trapped emotions. And so when you release these trapped emotions, guess what? People get better. Their neck pain that was chronic for over like 10 years just magically goes away. They fall in love with like the person of their dreams. They're back out on the scene dating or what have you. So there's a lot of fascinating things going on, I think, in the mental emotional component. The other thing I'll say is actually a lot of the functional practitioners that I work with, they see it too, which is why they even created a mental and emotional support product, which has 6 frequencies embedded in it for like positive and harmony, and to bring harmony back into someone's life. And when they started testing this, I know it sounds really woo, but when they started testing this with folks, they saw them get amazingly better. And the people that they're working with are with severe autoimmunity, right? These people have Lyme disease, mold toxicity, all these really, really bad things. And they're getting better, or they were doing better, more seamless throughout the process just by taking this supplement. So I think that's fascinating. And so, I think, again, most of us, when we think of courage, we think of this dashing courage. We think of the heroes. We think of going through this burning building. But my question for you today is, what about spiritual courage, right? What about the courage within all of us that's founded in faith and unselfishness? you know, courage is a really powerful thing, right? I mean, when you think about it, it is a great force. It is a great connector for a lot of us, and it attracts us to one another, right? If someone is courageous, you're like, man, I want to be like that person. I wish I could get to know them. I want to be around this, or I wish I had that courage. I want to be closer to that person, right? And I mean, it's that powerful. It can bond us all together when someone is courageous in their acts. We all want to be people that are courageous start movements, right? People that are courageous that stand up. And if you look back even in history, you see that people that are courageous, they start these movements, and then what do? We follow. And I always say, like, sometimes in your life, like, you need to be the one to stand up, right? You need to be the one to stand up because people need leaders, and they will follow you if you just stand for something bigger than yourself. Okay. But the interesting thing too is that fear is contagious. We know that. We've seen it the last 2 years with the pandemic. We've seen how fear has been disruptive in people's lives, and how it's taught us to be scared of just the air that we breathe and being in contact with people that we love. And it continues, right? The news. I mean, if you listen to the news every day, I mean, you'd probably never get out of your house, fear that you might get in a car accident or something, or you might die from something else. So fear is contagious, but here's the message: so is courage. Courage is also contagious. You know, people become united and inspired by courage. And you know that because you've seen all the movements. When people stand up for what's right, you bond together, you surround that, you become connected with that tribe. And here's the message that I really want to send to you guys today is that, and this ties into everything in your health and wellness journey, or maybe just your personal journey, but courageous men and women, they never indulge in self-pity or complacency. Okay. Their souls, they are the beacons. They shine, right, as these lights that are guiding us, right? They lead us to the darkness. They lead us through the confusion. And life, we know, has many trials and tribulations, but guess what? It's only it's only those that have the courage to face them and master them that allows you to actually strive upward, right? That that is actually how you grow. And a lot of us, we fear courage. We fear these moments. We fear failure. But the irony of it all is that that's how you grow, is through facing these adversities. You never learn anything from success, right? You don't, I mean, hardly. When you're successful, you're just like, yeah, it was great. When you actually fail, and there's a problem in your business, there's a problem in your health, it forces you to dive deeper. It forces you to ask, how can I be better? Right? And the problem for most of us is when courage is lost, guess what? All is lost. All is lost. And we become weak. We become afraid to actually test life and test it and break stuff, right? If I did something in my business and it was a complete failure, I might just turn back and go, oh my God, I'm a failure. Quit this business. This business sucks. This business is terrible. Just quit. Do it all together. Never do that again. Never try to run that ad again. Oh my God, I lost so much money. Or I could say, well, let me double down and let me see what's working. Let me run a different ad. Let me try this. Same thing with our health and wellness, right? We know many of us, we've faced those same problems. We've tried something, it didn't work, and then we just give up. We tried to lose weight, we tried to diet. All right, hold on. There we go. So we've tried something, we've tried our diet or something like that, and when it doesn't work, we lose hope, we lose faith, we lose courage. We see examples of this every day, right? We see those in the people who have lost their courage, the people who have given up, and they allow themselves to sink back into the depths of the human society, right? And remember, again, the person who indulges in self-pity, I never really thought about this until recently, but it's cowardly. It's actually cowardly to indulge in your own self-pity. It's to be a martyr, right? When your power and energy becomes inverted, we become, guess what? Concerned about ourselves, guys. We start looking inward. We start making up stories about ourselves. And when you look inward, all these stories about how you're probably not going to see it and you're not going to be great, that's what's being created. You need to look outward. You need to see the bigger picture. What am I missing? How can I be better? How can I grow? When you look at the people when they've been incapacitated, right? From being brave, from being daring, right? The inevitable reaction to danger and difficulty is always not courage, but we create alibis for escapes. We create excuses. We create reasons why we can't do this. And courage is essential when it comes to self-control and self-discipline. You want to be more disciplined in your diet? Have more courage. Be bold. Take daring action. Do something different. Hire a coach. Be decisive. Get outside of your comfort zone. Try a different diet. Try the carnivore diet this week. Try it. Break something. See what happens. Experiment. But you have to have courage and you have to have self-control. If you want something bad, then you have to have courage. You have to have courage to stand up and say, I want this so bad that I'm not going to overeat. I'm not going to do these things. But as long as people are just succumbing to their desires, their urges, then these tendencies that we all have, right? They start to vibrate on just a lower plane. And it's only as we learn from going through courageous thought and action that we're able to control and redirect these tendencies, right? And then that's how evolution happens. That's how you evolve. That's how you start to connect on a higher plane. When you're on a higher plane or a higher vibration, guess what? You're going to start connecting with the people who you need to connect with. You're going to start finding yourself around the tribe and the groups that are going to raise you up and make you even better. And when you exercise courage in controlling your habits, your traits, you become better. Remember, there's no growth. There's no growth without a little bit of friction. So learn to start welcoming it, right? There is always going to be a fight, though, between us, right? There's always going to be a fight between the carnal part of us, that animalistic part, and then the spiritual part. And that carnal part, it can be positive sometimes, we know that, but it can also be very destructive. And it can tend to lower that vibration. The spiritual person that represents all, the attributes of the soul, this is what shines the light towards that upward path. Self-control, self-discipline. It doesn't mean that you're like repressing yourself and you're limited, but it's actually a way of self-expression, a powerful way of self-expression by exercising courage. You're exercising it. You're diminishing the overwhelming destructive forces within all of us. That's why that popular phrase by Jocko Willink, the famous Navy SEAL commander, talks about discipline equals freedom. This is what he's talking about. Having that self-discipline, guys, it's courageous. When you think about it, it actually requires courage to shoulder all of our responsibilities, to work out our own problems. And it's the opposite. It's selfish and cowardly not to fight your own battles, right? So many people, guys, so many people, and you know these people. We've even been there. We've all been there. I've been there. We delight in being like a martyr, right? But it's really a weakness of character. It's a lack of courage. And when you lack courage, you're lost. That's the truth. When you lack courage, you're lost. You don't know where you're going. You're not in tune with your vision. You're not in tune with your North Star, where you want to go in life. And no doubt, I think all of us believe that we're entitled to some kind of peace and happiness, right? That's the goal. I think we all deserve that, but it takes courage to fight the evils of the world and rise above them. And when people are around us they're annoying, they're irritating us, they're depressing. The deal is this: we have to adapt. We have to rise above. Because when you're courageous, that's when you rise above. That's when you defend your rights. That's when you control your emotions. You don't overreact when somebody does something, when your spouse, your kid, somebody cuts you off in traffic. That's courage. You maintain that happy state of mind. It's easy. It's always easy to be courageous when everything's going good, when life is good. Of course, yeah. But what about when things go bad? Are you courageous then? Do you defend your rights then? Do you stand up for what's right? Are you self-disciplined? Do you have self-control when things aren't good? And either we have to realize we are either the victor of our circumstances or the victims. And most people, most of us, we love to follow the path of least resistance. It's just natural and it's easy. And I would say in general, that's probably a good concept, a good philosophy. But just remember this again, when there's a life of just ease, free from struggle, free from pain, then nothing would ever interfere your ease and comfort, and you would actually never grow. And that's why if you're watching on YouTube or some of the other things, I have a little banner there that says growth comes from friction. And again, we always try to avoid things that are difficult, that are hard. But what have you ever learned from success? I asked you that question earlier. Like, what have you ever learned when you were just successful? Nothing. You didn't learn anything. And so when you think about that, how did you gain wisdom? How did you become the person you are? It's always from these struggles. So why don't we just start welcoming it? That was something that really hit me hard recently as I was reading this, and I was thinking about this idea of courage, and I was reading this passage, and it said, you know, when you're living in a world that's just not real. If you don't think there's supposed to be challenges and difficulties and struggles, it's just not realistic. And, you know, when you realize that all of this is part of a greater plan for you, then you stop to rebel against it, because this is either God's plan or a higher power or a higher source. And when you actually just surrender to it and realize, oh yeah, this is just part of the plan, this is part of life, everything gets better. Because you accept and you move on and you continue to grow. And then you start to connect again with your vision, your North Star. And then you press on and you grow more. And through your failures, you gain wisdom, you gain experience. And then eventually you're going to reach your goals. If we look back, it's always the times that we just stopped, that we just gave up. When we come to recognize that this is all just part of a greater, higher plan, it's almost like becomes easy. There's just a weight off your shoulder because you're like, oh, I'm supposed to run into these difficulties. I'm supposed to have these challenges. Of course. It wasn't supposed to be easy. Recently, I had all these issues come up in my business, and I had to do all these things, and I was overwhelmed, and I was living in fear. And when I finally just accepted it, like, this is part of the growth. This is supposed to happen. I don't deserve this success yet. I need to grow more. And then I started seeing all these things I wasn't doing in my business because I started looking outward. I stopped looking inward. I stopped looking at how I'm such a failure and indulging in self-pity. And I started being courageous again and started thinking, what bold action could I do? In the last week, guys, I just hired 2 people in my business. I actually started to pay more money because I wanted to grow. That would be seeming counter, intuitive when you're thinking, oh, you're having a bad month, things aren't going well. You should cower. You should restrict yourself. You should repress. You should go backwards. Instead, I've actually hired 2 people because I wanted to grow even more. That's penetrating that fear and going towards it, right? Going towards the danger, being courageous, taking bold action. I'm sorry, I actually already covered some of that. So just remember this: when times, I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm looking at, we're at 20 minutes and I want to be done. I don't want to be longer than 20 minutes. When times are tough, be bold, be courageous, fight onward. As long as people and things have influence over your spirit, fear, chaos, confusion, destruction, all of these things are going to be running rampant in the world. But when we start to radiate faith, love, courage, we embody all the things that are noble of the soul, that attributes to lifting up humanity, right? And then the shadows, they fall behind us. So I hope this was helpful for you guys on Monday morning. I wanted to shoot this out and just keep these really short, maybe to like 10 to 20 minutes of just some kind of mindset help, and just getting your work, just getting the start of the week going. So my message again, be bold, be courageous, have a fantastic week. If you need any more help in this area, reach out to me, DM me. I'm happy to connect with you guys. You can connect with me either through email, info@joelevancoaching, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram @joelevancoaching. Super excited to be doing this. This is going to be happening every Monday. Check out my Weight Loss Wednesday show, where we're going to be going over topics on weight loss. And then Friday, I'll be releasing this week, actually, I'll be releasing another podcast, and surrounded by health, alternative health practitioners and people and experts in that arena. And then Friday, I'll be releasing a short little like 1-minute hack on how you can get through whatever your challenging health issues you are with. Just some simple, easy, crunchy tactics and solutions. Cool. I'm out, guys. Happy Monday. Let's go get it.